Hey there again, it's Carol King, the developer of Custom Home Builder Solutions, also known as CHS. This is a continuation video about getting your books balance forwards in and the detail behind their balance forwards. In this video, we're going to talk about if you had jobs in progress that you put a total balance forward for the total cost in progress for each job on your chart of accounts, which was demonstrated in the videos about balances forward for the chart of accounts. This one's going to be about putting the detail behind those costs so that they will show up on job cost subsidiary reports for you that you might be interested in because the job is still in progress. So we've been progressing through the setup and help and CHS setup steps. In the very last video, we went over post prior period payables, and we went over the part about posting prior period unpaid payables. In other words, there was a balance forward for accounts payable, and we were putting the detail behind the unpaid payables. In this case, if I click this, and it's telling me that it's already put some stuff in the search field, so I could just click the magnifying glass to find the stuff I'm interested in. I am interested this time in post prior period paid job costs. If you have jobs in progress, posting paid prior period job cost bills will give you the job cost detail you need for job cost reports and variances. So this is going to be about how to do that, and this video will be behind this video button. So let's open the help document for that. So after you post, like in the previous video, all of your unpaid prior period accounts payable entries, then you will want to maybe post some detail behind jobs in progress as of your balance forward date. In the CHS setup help document about gathering prior period information, it suggested you prepare detailed lists of prior period costs for each job in progress. Use those lists to post the detail costs on the prior period window shown below. Remember, if you have already posted the unpaid costs for jobs, do not enter those again. We'll take a look at that. You will select, the biggest difference is that you will be selecting paid in the status field instead of unpaid like we did in the previous video. This is just a one-page document because the previous help document about unpaid payables has a section that describes all of these fields and what's used in these fields. So if you don't have any unpaid and you didn't open that unpaid one help document, you might want to open it so you can get a written description about these fields, even though I talk about each one in this video some. So let's just minimize this. I need to remember, I've already posted this before and just went and deleted it. So I need to remember what I was putting in here. And I'd like to go for a minute to where we entered balance forwards on the chart of accounts. So let's just collapse that, find our chart of accounts, open our chart of accounts. Where you are usually, if you're on a completed contract method, and I went over accounting methods in some previous videos or help documents, where you're usually posting all of your job costs is in a GL account 1430. And as I've explained before, you don't have to set up one of these for every single job because behind the scenes, every time you post something, you're telling it what job it is, and CHS can search for those. But we're talking about balance forwards, so let's use this pencil edit icon for balance forwards, which is what you use when you enter your balance forwards. Let's see what we entered. We entered balance forwards for two different jobs that are probably in progress, but we're going to focus on H11 River. And it says that we have a balance forward of $9,858.72. So we would like to put the detail behind that so that the detail behind that will show up on job cost reports. So let's take a look at something. Let's drill down on this direct construction cost account. What this is going to open is a big ledger of all the entries as of today in 2021. So we want to do a little search here real quick. So let's first of all just search for all entries through 12/31/2001 and for all entries related to H11 River over here where I select a job, and let's submit a search and see what's going on behind the 1430. Notice that it says that there's a balance in here of $9,852.72, that there's a bunch of in and out entries up here where you see something being posted like we saw in the unpaid payables and then being taken out. One side with a cost code, one side with a zero cost code. So the side with the cost code that's other than zero will show up on job cost reports. And so we see all of these various things in and out, in and out, in and out. And that means that whatever we put as the balance forward just continues to be the balance in the account as of that date. Now, if we took and totaled all of these up or went and looked at a job cost report, let's go do that. Let's go look where it says ECC, actual costs, and actual job cost database. And let's just look at that job and open the job cost database. And we'll do a little search here so that we're only seeing things through 12/31/2001. Since I selected H11 before I came in here, the H11 River, that's all the records that I have. And if I do a report, which is just based on my search, and I look at the job cost total, it's only $7,358.72. Basically, it's $2,500 different than what I might expect as the detail behind my balance forward amount of $9,858.72. I have already entered a whole bunch of prior period costs, as you can see, that showed up here that are dated on or before 12/31. I just wanted to leave one more to post to use for this demo. You can see down here in the filters, these are only the costs that were dated on or before our balance forward date. So let's go finish our job, since I had already entered a bunch in prior period payables for the detail, but we'll go home. And where you do that is behind post new payables and charges, and it tells you that on your help document, and prior period payables. There's the help again, and post prior period bills and costs. So we have one bill left that we haven't posted for $2,500, and that happens to be to a vendor called Kenneth Beauchamp or Beauchamp, or however you say it. And we might put a description of something like ceramic tile labor, because we see that on the invoices that we've stacked up or looked at together to get the whole balances forward detail behind the job cost forward balance. And let's just say that was dated on 12/15/2001, that invoice. And we'll just put 12/15/2001 because we don't care about the due date on a paid thing necessarily. We're just trying to get the detail in behind. And we'll just let's just play like that's the invoice number. And if you don't have one, you could use 6 digits for the date. So let's select our H11 River job right here in the job field. And because we selected that, a default GL number dropped in. Because of this vendor, a default cost code dropped in. And because of the job again, the Department for Custom Homes dropped in, because that's what we attached to this job. And we attached this general ledger for work in progress to that job. If you look at the unpaid payables video about prior period, you'll see how I showed how these will change based on selecting different jobs. And the cost code for the vendor of 5145 dropped in, and that's fine. We are paying him for ceramic tile floor labor. And if it happened to be vinyl floor labor, we could select that now instead. But this is just the default that you set up for that vendor when you set it up. A markup percent has dropped in because H11 River job has a budget with markup percents on it, and CHS will look out there for that cost code and that job on the budget to drop in what the markup percent is for this cost code in case you run a cost plus markup draw request and you need those numbers at a marked up amount for each one of these invoices. The cost type attached to the cost code was, of course, labor, so that dropped in, and we marked this vendor to get a 1099, so miscellaneous dropped in. So the amount of our invoice, we'll just leave a quantity of 1, and the amount of our invoice was $2,500, so 1 times $2,500 is the total of the invoice. And the different thing that we are doing this time is a status of paid. And if you remember, the check date and check number were not enabled when we put unpaid, but now it is enabled, and for convenience it will drop in the invoice number as the check date. Now if you paid that maybe on 12/20/2001, you could type that in so you have the date of the check just for information. And I don't remember what we were using in our demo before, so I'm going to open this just to look at a picture of it. The check number, I think it says 3543. Let's just keep that the same and enter that. The drop down is just to look at other check numbers and stuff, and you will have to type in the check number for this. And since CHS isn't taking care of posting these checks like this, what it's doing is just letting you put a bunch of records in that are marked with a check number and marked with a check date that you used before you started CHS. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to submit that. And if we want to look at a ledger of all prior paid entries, we can, just because we want to, and we'll see our 2500 in here, the Beauchamp and the paid date and various things if we're just wanting to look at a list of all the prior period. What I'd like to check is the actual job costs again, and since I had opened it before, it's sitting here in a tab. It's already marked with H11 River. I do need to do the search again since I've just reopened the window. We'll do the search again for just the stuff through 12/31/2001, and we'll search, and we'll go ahead and do a report of what we searched for, and let's see what our total is now. Now it ties to our balance forward amount, $9,858.72, which is super great. We are done with entering all the detail for the actual job cost report through 12/31/2001, and it ties to our balance forward on our chart of accounts. So that's how you enter those prior period details. What I'd like to say is if you have a whole bunch, say for ceramic tile labor, all the same, some people, instead of every single invoice on the prior period screen, will just lump them together just so they can get them in on those job cost reports. Like I said, these entries are going in and out in a way of the account that you're using, and they're just a place to post the detail. Just think of it that way. They're not ending up in accounts payable. They're not ending up in a place. The paid ones from prior period are not ending up where you select them to pay or anything else. And they are easily deleted if you go look for them on the Home tab under All Payables Records, and you look for vendor ledgers. And I just want to look for stuff in December, and I just want this vendor, and I think I want to delete it, which is what I actually did just a little while ago to delete it so I could re-demo it. But once it's here, you can click this X button and continue to delete the record, and it will disappear in case you made a bunch of mistakes and want to get rid of it. I'm not going to. I did do that a minute ago, and in the vendor bills audit, it shows entry deleted Beauchamp, which I did just a little bit earlier today at 9:32. Now it's 9:51, just so I could do the demo. But it's keeping track, of who did the deletion and why every time you delete something out of your vendor transactions database, just for your information. That's how you delete. So I think that takes care. Let's make sure I don't have anything else on the help document about this that I should have said. It's for the paid date and check numbers for information purposes only. It will appear on job cost reports and vendor ledgers. It does not mean that the check is recognized as a check by CHS. It will not appear on check and cash registers. That is because it is a prior period check. However, amounts posted here will be included on an IRS 1099 totals for the year they are posted. So for some reason, you're running 1099s for the year 2001, which is actually sort of before you started CHS, but you wanted to enter all that stuff. You could recreate having 1099s for 2001 out of CHS. Oh, while I was just looking at this, I just remembered something I should have showed on the actual job cost report about if you have already posted the unpaid costs for the job, do not enter those again. So let's just real quickly run out and take a look at that job costing report one more time. I came in, I stopped the video and started again, so we've got some things open, but I still have the actual job cost menu. And let's open the job cost database one more time. Do the search just through 12/31. Submit the search. And what I'd like you to watch is this paid date check number over here. Notice how all these various ones are paid, but all of a sudden there's one that's not paid. And if you'll remember, if you watched posting the unpaid payables bills that are part of your accounts payable balance forward, we posted one to audio video for the job H11 River that was unpaid and is part of our unpaid payables balances. But because we used the cost code over here that was not zero, it is showing up as part of our actual job cost database. So when you're entering the balances for all paid ones, all these other paid ones that we just went over, you would not want to enter the unpaid ones again, because they will already be showing up as an actual job cost, whether they're paid or not paid. I just wanted to point that out. Let's close this real quickly. And hopefully that tells you everything you need to know about posting both from the prior video unpaid job costs and then paid job costs to get the detail behind your balance forward for your jobs in progress that you have in progress once you take over and start using CHS. I hope that helps, and thank you for watching.